Hi, in this video we are going to solve the exercises from 1 to 7 of chapter 5, Elasticity and its Application. This is a book of Gregory Mankiw, Principles of Economics. So the first question says, of the following pairs of goods, which good would you expect to have more elastic demand and why? A. Required textbooks or mystery novels. So I would say the good with higher elastic demand is mystery novel, because compared with required textbooks, they are mandatory. You need to buy them, even if there is a change in the price. You need to spend more, but you will buy them. In other side of the mystery novels, they are not completely required. We are talking about more something more elastic that you can change. So for example, you can change buying with another genres or another part of literature. Okay. The B is Beethoven recording or classical music recorded in general. So as we said before, when we have like more specific good, in this case is Beethoven recording. This is like a vanilla ice cream, so you can change for another flavor. So in this case you can change for another musician, for example. So in this case you will change Beethoven easily. So when we are talking about more general goods as classical music, it turns out more inelastic. So in this case, this is gonna be the Beethoven recordings. Okay, so this is gonna be more elastic goods. So because classical music recorded is more general, so it's inelastic. So heating oil during the next 6 months or heating oil during the next 5 years. So as you remember, elastic changes with the time horizon. The longer the horizon, the more elastic is the good. So in this case, it's going to be heating oil during the next 5 years. Okay, this is going to be in the time horizon, is going to be more time, so you can time for substitute this kind of energy. So D, root beer or water. So again, we need more water than beer in theory, or mostly people. So in this case, we have the water, so it's going to be more inelastic. If they change the price 10%, even you need to spend more, is something that you need to pay. So the demand is not going to change too much. Instead of root beer, you can find another beverage that can change or like, yeah, it can be like a substitute of this good. Second, suppose that business travelers and vacationers have the following demand for airline tickets from New York to Boston. So here we have the price, which goes from 150 to 300. In the other column, we have the quantity demanded for business travelers. So we see here 2,100 for $150 until 1,800 for $300. In the last column, we have the quantity demanded by the vacationers. They have 1,000 for 150 and 400 for 300 price. Okay, so the question is, as the price of tickets rises from 200 to 250, what is the price elasticity of demand for 1. Business travelers and vacationers who use the midpoint method in your calculations? So here we are going to find out the business travelers. So remember, the elasticity of demand is given by the percentage change of the quantities in the numerator over the change in percentage of the price. So in this case we are finding from 200 to 250. So this is going to be the changes for the travelers. It's going to be 1900 minus 2000, and the midpoint between these two is 1950 over the change in the price, the final price, which is 250, and minus 200 over the midpoint, which is 225. So we find this value. What does it mean? It means that is less or lower than 1. So this is inelastic, as we expected, because business travelers they need to travel. So maybe if anything is like the change of the price, anyway they will travel because they need to. So in this case, why is given that? Because the change of the quantities is much less than the change in the price. So here we have the elasticity. Now we're going to do the same for vacationers. We have the denominator which is exactly the same because the change in the price for business travelers and vacationers is the same. On the other side we have the change, which is going to be from 600 in this case to 800. Okay, the price was 800, and after the price is going to be 600, and the midpoint is 700, and now we have 1.28. So this is as we expected, is larger than 1. So it means that they are more sensitive for the change in the price. There is a change in the price, but the quantities change more proportionally than the price change. So here B, why might vacationers have different elasticity than business travelers? So as we said, this is more necessary for business travelers. Vacationers, they would say, okay, the flight is too expensive, so we can go, instead of going from New York to Boston, we can just go by car, or we can go to another place instead of business, because they have to go, they have an appointment, they have an agenda, they have a schedule, so they have to do it. So the elasticity, they are much more inelastic. Okay. Third, suppose that your demand schedule for compact discs is as follows. Okay, so imagine here we have the price from 8 to 16. These are the quantity demanded for an income of 10,000, and here we have the quantity demanded of income of 12,000. As you see here, we see when you have more money, here you demand more for each price. Okay, you demand more. So even without analyzing any equation, you already realize that for you the compact discs, they are a normal good. What a normal good is? A normal good is a good when you receive more money or more income, you demand more. This is a normal good. So here we have the first question. Use the midpoint method to calculate your price elasticity of demand as the price of compact discs increases from 8 to 10 if 1. Your income is 10,000 and second, your income is 12,000. So first of all, we have the income, which is 10,000. So remember, we have in the numerator the change in percentage of the quantities, which is going to be given by the midpoint method. So we are going to have the quantities we are evaluating from 8 to 10. So we have in this case 32. Okay, it's going to be minus 40, because this is the change over the midpoint, which is 36, and the change in the price is from 10 to 8, from 8 to 10, so it's going to be 10 minus 8 over the midpoint, which is 9. This is 1. So what does it mean? 1 means that there's going to be the same proportion of the change in the quantities and the change in the price. This is unit elastic. It's going to be a proportion relation. For the other side, for the income, which is higher, we have the same price, the change in the denominator, which is exactly the same as the previous one, and here we have 45 and 50. If you see here, the change in the quantities is less than the change in the price, which is expected because you have more money, you are not so affected by the change of the price. You consume mostly the same, almost the same. So here is inelastic because it's less than 1. Okay, so now they asked for calculate your income elasticity of demand as your income increases from 10,000 to 12,000 if 1. The price is 12 and 2. The price is 16. So here remember the table, and now we are going to start analyzing when the price is 12. So when the price is 12, when we are finding out about the elasticity of demand, or your income increases. Okay, so we are going to analyze the elasticity of your income. Okay, so instead of having the price here, you will put here the income. So here we are analyzing with the price fixed, which is 12. So it's going to be the change of quantity is going to be 30 minus 24 over the midpoint, which is 27. On the numerator, we will put the change in the income, which is 12,000 and minus 10,000 over the midpoint. So we have here 1.22 periodic. Okay, it continues. So here we figure out that it's positive. So when it's positive, as we said before, this is a normal good. It means when the income increases, the quantities as well. For the case of price of 16, we evaluate the same. The denominator is exactly the same, but the quantities is going to be fixed with price of 16, which is going to be from 8 to 12. It's going to be 12 minus 8 over the midpoint. So here we have 2.2. So we have again that in this case the quantities increases even more than the income increase. But what is important here is the sign. So here we see again that this is a normal good for the guy. Fourth, Emily has decided always to spend 1/3 of her income on clothing. A. What is her income elasticity of clothing demand? So let's imagine that Emily has a salary of 1,200. So it means that she spends always $400 on clothing because it's 1/3 of 1,200. And there is an increase to 1,500 for her salary. Then she will spend 500 on clothes. So here, imagine that the price of the one piece of clothes, whatever she buys, pants, sweaters, I don't know, whatever thing, is $80 for each piece of clothes. Then she will be first. Given that she will spend 400, she will spend 400 over 80, and after 500 over 80, given the increase in the salary. So here, where is the income elasticity of clothing demand? So here in the denominator we have the hypothetical change in the salary from 1,200 to 1,500. So here we have, and we have a denominator here, we have over the midpoint, and here the quantities. This is 500 over 80, which is 6.25, and 400 over 80, which is 5, and over the midpoint. So what we realize here, that the elasticity income is 1. So this is positive. So this is a normal good. What does it mean? A normal good is a good where when your income is higher, you will consume more. So in this case, you would figure out here that she will consume more, but proportionally what she has earned more. Okay. So the next point says, what is her price elasticity of clothing demand? So imagine that each good is 80 as we said before. So she will consume 5. And if there is an increase to 100, she will consume 4. Okay? Because remember that the price is 1/3 of her income, which is $400. So here we have the change in the quantities, which they are going to be 4 minus 5, and the midpoint 4.5, and the changes in the price is going to be 100, which is the final price, minus the initial price, which is 80, and the midpoint. This is 1. This is unit elastic. What does it mean? It means that the proportion of the change in the quantities given the increase in the price is exactly the same as the change in the price. So this is the elasticity of demand, is unit elastic. C. If Emily's tastes change and she decides to spend only 1/4 of her income on clothing, how does her demand curve change? What are her income elasticity and price elasticity now? So first, her demand curve will be shifted to the left, given the less quantity available for spending. Remember that she has initial salary 1,200 and after 1,500, but with the change she will have 1,200 divided 4, okay, which is going to be 300, and with the increase of this salary is going to be this divided 4, which is 375. So imagine that the price is 80 for each piece of cloth. So then she will first consume 300 over 80, and after 375 over 8. So we're going to figure out about her elasticity. So here we have the elasticity of income, which is this is the income, and those are the quantities consumed. This is going to be 375 over 80 is 300 over 80 is going to be 3.75, and this one is going to be 4.6875 over the midpoint. So we have here one. So we have an interesting conclusion. Even the tastes has changed, and she will spend less in clothes. Given that she will spend the same proportion, the elasticity of the income is going to be exactly the same, and is going to behave as a normal good. Remember, normal good, you have like higher price. Sorry, you have higher income, more quantities demanded. Okay. So here I would like to find out for the case of the elasticity of demand. Here the price is going to be 100 minus 80 over 90, and here we have the quantities. They're going to be exactly the same, and we have 1. So it's interesting again. Even the price that, I mean the quantities that Emily is going to spend on clothing, given that there is a proportion that she will still maintain, or she will keep this proportion, the elasticity of income and demand is going to be exactly the same. What is going to be the most important change? The most important change is that she will consume less of clothing. So the fifth point, the New York Times reported that Subway readership declined after a fare increase. There were nearly 4 million fewer riders in December 1995, the first full month after the price of a token increased 25 cents to 150. Then in previous December, a 4.3% decline. A. Use this data to estimate the price elasticity of demand for subway riders. So here I'm just summarize the information. So I have 4 million fewer riders, which is 4.3% decline. There is the initial price was this one, and after the increase of 25, the final price is this one. So the first we need to figure out the price elasticity of demand. So remember, in the numerator we have the percentage change of quantities, which is 4.3. So as a number I divided by 100, so this is going to be 0.043. The change in the price by the midpoint method is going to be 1.5 minus 1.25 over this one, which is the midpoint. So here we have the result. So it means, as expected, that this is an inelastic good. People need to move, people need to transport. So in this case, they don't pay much attention to this change, because the change in the quantities was not as representative as the change of the price. So according to your estimate, what happens to the transit authority's revenue when the fare rises? This is inelastic, okay? So remember, which is lower than 1. So it means that an increase in the price brings a larger increase in the income. So given the naturality of inelastic, the characteristic, when you increase the price, you increase your revenue. So opposite to the elastic. The C point, why might your estimate of elasticity be unreliable? So from my point of view, I think it's reliable, so you can think more a little bit about that. But maybe you are not taking into account some variables, because as you know, in economics we think about ceteris paribus. So what does it mean? When you have like one variable, you are taking, like, you hold all the other variables, which maybe cannot be so realistic. So for example, imagine about one simple variable, the more people on vacation. So if there is more people in vacation, they don't need to commute every single day. So maybe there's going to be a decrease in the transportation, or maybe there is less people on vacation. So for this reason, there was a little change on quantities, because people still were using the subway. What about the weather conditions? So for example, the weather conditions, I don't know if I spell okay, maybe I'm not, sorry. Weather conditions. So in this case, for example, there is a hurricane or a typhoon or whatever conditions in this city. So maybe it makes that there is a decrease in the subway, or maybe on the contrary, because you cannot take the car because it's impossible, it's a lot of snow in the streets, so you need to take the subway, which is the only way of transportation which work in the city. Or maybe income condition, maybe this time is crisis, so this is the big crisis, so people, they cannot take more cars, so they can to sell them, so they start to use subway. Or maybe the other case, they receive more money, so they abandoned, because it's an inferior good, which an inferior good is. When you receive more money, you consume less of this good. In this case, the subway, maybe you receive more money, you commute by car, or okay, so it could be these things make our elasticity a little bit unreliable. So second point, two drivers, Tom and Jerry, each drive up to a gas station. Before looking at the price, each places an order. Tom says, I'd like 10 gallons of gas. Jerry says, I'd like 10 worth of gas. What is each driver's price elasticity of demand? So I'm going to suppose that the price per gallon is $2 and there is an increase of $2.50. So I'm going to find out which is the elasticity price of demand for Tom and for Jerry. Here I'm going to find out about Tom elasticity. Here, as you realize here, he always asks for 10 gallons of gas, which makes the, sorry, here is not the income, here is price. Okay, I made a mistake. So here is going to be 10 minus 10 over 10, which is going to be the numerator 0. So it's going to be 0. What does it mean? This is a perfectly inelastic demand. It doesn't matter the price for Tom because he will always ask for 10 gallons. So the consume is going to be exactly the same no matter the price. In the other case, we have the Jerry's elasticity, which is here again price, made the mistake. So here we have, so given that he will pay 10 worth of gas, is going to be, the price is going to change the same as this one from 2 to 2.5. This is the midpoint, and here the change is going to be 10 over 2, which is this the initial, and this one is going to be the final 10 over 2.5, which is 4, and over the midpoint here is 1, which means unit elastic. So the same proportion of the change of the price is going to be the same proportion of the change of the quantity demanded by Jerry. So the second and the last point, economists have observed that spending on restaurant meals declines more during economic downturns than does spending on food to be eaten at home. How might the concept of elasticity help to explain phenomenon? So here, when we think about luxury good, is something when you have economic downturn, you have some economic problem, you immediately you cut the consume. So this is the case of eat outside. So this is an elastic good. But when you have the necessity of eat, maybe you save, you put away a little money when you go to the supermarket. But basically you need to eat. So this is going to be more inelastic. Okay, so I hope it has worked. Have great success with economics and see you in the next video. Bye bye.